All right, Mississauga, it is your host, Banu, and 2023 has been a wonderful start. I have had some very interesting guests come on. We had a lady who facilitates in the area of therapeutic dance via biodanza, and guests are really a source of information, that is for sure. And today our guest is, I like to call Dr. K.
Yeah.
Dr. Klover, my apologies. And he is a chiropractor right here in the village of Streetsville. And Dr. K, I would like to welcome you to Mississauga, Keeping It Real.
Oh, excellent. That's it. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's so many different forms of chiropractic services. I did have a guest on from a couple months back in 2022, and she had a different approach to chiropractic and the adjustment process. And we're going to sort of get into the work that you do, Dr. K. But before we get there, let's get to know you. Are you born and raised here in Mississauga?
No. Actually, I'm a hybrid. I've been shipped in. I was born in Wisconsin. My dad was in the U.S. Navy for quite a few years in Newfoundland. My mom was from Newfoundland. So he was stationed up there, and they got married in Newfoundland. And then, I guess because of the military family thing, we bounced back and forth between Newfoundland and Wisconsin for a lot of years. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, it's a weird dynamic. And then I always wanted to, when I decided to become a chiropractor, I always wanted to come back to Canada, and I wanted to go back to Newfoundland. But then the fishery fell apart in the early to mid-90s there, and the unemployment rate was just too crazy to think about going back to where my mom was from, because I love Newfoundland. It was great people. And but the economics didn't work out, and a good buddy of mine from Newfoundland, he's from the Philippines, but he immigrated to Newfoundland, met him there, and he was a chiropractor. He went down to Iowa to a chiropractic school, and he ended up coming to Mississauga. So through him, we always kept touch. He goes, hey, don't go back to Newfoundland. Why don't you come to Mississauga and join up with me? And you can, if you want to go later on, you can go later on, but 25 years later, I'm still here.
Wow.
So that's kind of how the dynamic worked out for me. I was en route to the East Coast, but I got derailed and ended up here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in your journey, looking back, Dr. K, we're always different from when we were kids. So who was Dr. K as a kid? Were you the studious one in school? Were you the one sporty? Who were you looking back?
Yeah, I just look at it. I was into, I had a lot of buddies that were into mechanics. A good friend of mine, his dad owned a big trucking operation. So I was really not into sports or academics. I guess I just did the bare bones basics. And then I was working in a machine shop after high school building engines. And then the economy kind of took a tank and I got laid off. And I'm like, well, maybe I should try school. And then in my early 20s, and I'm like, I got into it. I'm like, yeah, why not? I'll veer off into left field and try something different, academics. Yeah. And when I got into it, business seemed boring and that, but science was really cool to me. So I chewed on the science, route, and that was it. Never looked back.
Wow. At that time, I want to go back to your earlier story, but before we go there, let's just continue on with the conversation we're having here.
Yeah.
What made you decide to get into science? Was it, like you had mentioned, there was an interest, and then somewhere down the line, you're like, let's get into chiropractic school. How did that decision all happen? Like, how did that go together?
It was just, actually, it was funny, because a guy that I was a roommate of mine across the hall in residence was an ex-Marine who was stationed in Hawaii for quite a few years, and he was into science. So he kind of derailed me and said, well, you don't want to go into business. That's boring. And I was influential at that time in my early time. I'm like, really? And he goes, no, this is where it's at, science, and you this and that. We talked, and then he said, I want to be a chiropractor. And I'm like, really? And that was it. Never, him and I kind of partnered up with him as a buddy, and we both went and did it. went to chiropractic school together. He practices in Michigan, but he was super influential, and he was really always pumped about science. And then I'm like, yeah, business is boring. And then he showed me a New York Times cartoon that had like admissions to a university, and the business administration line wrapped all the way to the horizon, and the science line was small. So I thought, nah, you know what? Maybe there is some. Everybody, back in the day, you'd hear, what do you go to university? Oh, business administration, business. And I'm like, oh, that's boring. And sure, so he was influential that I decided to go the other direction.
So there was no looking back. You weren't looking at any alternatives.
No. Once I started,
seemed like it was a big influence on me.
Sure, and then once that happened, like anything, once you make a commitment into doing something, you don't look back. You keep going.
Got it. And which university did you say you went?
I went to a little liberal arts college in Wisconsin called Lakeland College, and then from there, him and I left there after 2 years, and we went down to Iowa to the oldest chiropractic school in the world, which was founded by a Canadian back in 1895, down in Davenport, Iowa. Palmer College of Chiropractic, the first and the oldest chiropractic college in the world, was founded by a Canadian. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Sure, D.D. Palmer was from Port Perry, Ontario, and he left, I think, in the mid-1800s, probably gold rush, and was headed out towards California. And then he got to Iowa, and I think he ran out of money. He was a real bizarre character, a magnetic healer. And there was a janitor in this building that he was living in, and he was deaf. Harvey Lillard, his name was. And so he took him and put him on a table and was feeling his back. And then he felt, oh, this is one of those vertebrae are out of place. This is weird. And he just slammed it back into position, racked it back with just a gross power-pounding move, and the guy got his hearing back.
What?
So that was the defining moment that really founded chiropractic. And he's like, well, if that happened, what about other ailments and what about other bodily things that can go on? So that was the first adjustment. Yeah, D.D. Palmer. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm just like...
The whole story is what makes chiropractic neat, the profession, because it goes way back to, D.D. starting it. And then his son, BJ, really blew it out into the 20s, 30s, and was the real bizarre character that built on it even more. And then BJ's son, David, he even went even further. So there was 3 generations. Then David's daughter, Vicky, was the only Palmer that never became a chiropractor. She's the chancellor and the president of the chiropractic college, but she wasn't a chiropractor. So yeah, neat history.
Canadian ties. I had no idea.
No idea. It was coined by, if you go to Port Perry, Ontario, there's a big statue in a park. D.D. Palmer, founder of chiropractic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I just learned something completely new.
Yeah. And now you got to think about it. That guy got his hearing back, so that's why we really, as chiropractors, kind of don't want to chase symptoms. Because he looked at it saying, if the nerves, the brain and spinal cord control everything in the body, well, you could have things going on in there that you don't even know. If the vertebrae aren't lined up properly and they're really pressuring nerve tissue, well, that can influence wherever that nerve goes. Like I'll give you a gross example. It's kind of funny, but a lot of men over the years, after you get to know them, oh, doc, I can't get an erection. Yeah. Well, there's no pain with that, really. No. But you look at a lateral x-ray on there, and you see the couple discs are wore out in their lower back. Those nerves are not getting, the brain gets aroused. Right. Arousal starts in the brain. Feeds, the thought goes to a mental impulse down the cord, out to your genitals to do its thing. Yeah. Well, the message ain't getting there.
It's not getting there.
Yeah. So you got to think about, that's why, there are chiropractors that are very pain oriented, that chase pain, but I don't think they truthfully get the story of chiropractic and how influential that is into, really, to me, how you should be practicing as a chiropractor, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you just definitely, that's amazing. Having, it's sort of like basketball, people are getting to know that, even basketball right now is a Canadian,
for sure.
It was invented here in Canada, but it's become very popular in the U.S. and So now realizing that, even, chiropractic services, original founder was a Canadian right here in Perry, Ontario. Like
Fort Perry.
Fort Perry.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that?
Little Hickville, Booney. There's nothing up there, really.
No, I've been up there actually. The last, before the
by Lake Scugog.
I don't. They actually, you know what they're really known for? Or sorry, I don't know if you remember the franchise Licks.
Yeah.
They used to have one in Mississauga, right at the corner of Ontario.
Yeah.
The lady who started that business, she only has one location left in Perry, Ontario.
No way.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Interesting.
So the only way I came to know that is, the CNE has that food terminal and they bring like exotic foods.
Sure.
So inside the terminal, I saw Licks. I'm like, I thought this franchise closed down. So speaking to the lady, she's like, no. The owner actually lives right behind the restaurant.
Oh, cool.
And that's the only location that is there. So Perry, Ontario, I'm going to check out this.
Now, you got to think about, we were talking about Gonstead and different types of chiropractic.
Yes.
Well, Clarence Gonstead, he was Norwegian descent. He's from Wisconsin. And but of Norwegian descent, he was a big player at Palmer down in Iowa, Davenport. Clarence was a big, and he developed that technique through a disability that he had. He had rheumatoid arthritis and arthritis in his hands. So there's a lot of techniques in chiropractic that were developed by someone, sometimes out of a curse they might have been dealing with. They wanted to help people, but he got such good results with it that's how it developed into a technique. There's, like you said, neuroemotional.
Right, we were talking about that. We're going to get into
that.
We're going to get into that. I just want to go back a little bit. So,
but that's a bit of a Palmer.
No, that's fantastic, and we're going to continue on that. Let's just put that on the side here.
Yeah.
So, as Dad was going from Wisconsin to Newfoundland, how was that for you? Like, because as a kid, like it could be overwhelming leaving a school behind and then coming to Newfoundland.
I spent most of my time in Wisconsin, but I would go back to Newfoundland periodically because my grandmother's there. We'd stay with her. Yeah. But I would have to say it wasn't that bad because most of my upbringing was stable in Wisconsin where my dad was from. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't get torn out of schools.
Nothing like that.
No.
And are you the only sibling?
No, I've got 2 sisters and a brother. My sister's a lawyer up in Minneapolis. And another sister runs a state park up there. She's a superintendent. And then I got a brother who's a school teacher in Milwaukee. Yeah.
Nice. So you're the only one here.
Yeah, but they all want to come.
Do they?
They wanted to come. They wanted to come before Trudeau. Put it that way.
Okay. I hear what you're saying.
Put that on the back burner. But no, they've always. When you got a parent, I guess a lot of them, whether it's American, Canadian, you have a mixed relation like that. I mean, there's a passion for both countries. Always is. Indian, Canadian.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure there's passion back in
India. Absolutely there is passion, right? No, definitely. You mentioned Newfoundland. So.
I just don't have to go as far as my Indian or Pakistani patients. I'm like, I could drive about 5 hours and I'm there.
You know what? I've never been to Wisconsin? Wisconsin. I can't even say it correctly. Wisconsin.
Yeah. Wisconsin. Yeah. You'll get it.
I'll get it. Yeah. So, is it a snowy state? Is it, where is it exactly?
It's like Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah. So there is a lot of snow and this and that.
Just on the other side of Lake Michigan.
Okay, got it.
8-hour drive and you're in Milwaukee.
Okay.
But it's, it's blue collar, a lot of manufacturing and that, a lot of dairy, a lot of farming. But Wisconsin's got the Harley Davidson. They got a lot of cool things that they're known for.
But then here you are, then going to Newfoundland. That's completely the snow. Oh my God!
Well, Newfoundland,
you got the
believe it or
right
not,
there?
Newfoundland's a lot warmer than Wisconsin. But Newfoundland was it's damp, cold and damp, and it has a different, but like bone chilling cold, like some of the stuff we get. Today, I think it's 0 Fahrenheit there. Yeah. So Wisconsin and Iowa gets way colder than the East Coast. The water isolates it a bit, insulates it.
Right. I remember being in Newfoundland, and there's that one mall that I'm thinking of. It's
Avalon Mall?
Avalon Mall. Yeah. So I walked through it. I'm like, okay, this was like early Saturday.
I don't know if a lot of Mississaugans would consider that a mall.
No. It's just the only connection. I had a flight to Europe, so I had a layover there for about 24 hours. I go, let's check out Newfoundland. So there's Conception Bay.
Yep.
And they have these little villages where you can get real wonderful like fish and chips.
Sure.
And you know what? Fish and chips in Newfoundland is hands down the best. Because UK, the English people think their fish and chips is no. Newfoundland fish?
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, it's codfish capital, right? It was. Still is. I mean, you can still fish for cod, but it's not commercialized in an industry like it was way back, right?
Yeah.
But I was kind of lucky to bounce back and forth to both places. Wisconsin was unique and pretty cool, but Newfoundland is a diamond in the crown of Canada. I mean, it's if you're an outdoorsy person, it's you can't beat it.
The day when I got there, actually, and for whatever reason, even the locals, when I was speaking to them, they were saying, you're lucky actually because the weather changes here instantly.
Yeah.
But for the next 12, 13 hours, it was just, I think, like high, teens, like 19, 20, 21, or 22. So it was just beautiful. Like I was like, wow, beautiful place.
What time of the year did you do that?
This was actually,
summer?
I believe it was the summer.
Okay, you're lucky then.
Yeah, because usually it rains a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Sort of like Vancouver, BC.
I think I read a stat that Newfoundland is cloudy and overcast 320 days a year.
Yes.
And that could contribute why Newfoundlanders drink a little bit more than most people.
Talking about drinking, they have per capita the most bars in the street anywhere in the world. I didn't know that. There's that one...
George Street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, what do you mean per capita? The way the street is set up and then the number of bars it's per capita. It's the world's...
it's just pretty neat. Old cobblestone. Yeah, it's a neat spot. Yeah.
I know, it was really, really nice. Would I like to go back? You know what? I would. The people were very friendly.
Yeah.
And Newfoundlanders, Newfies, they have this reputation. Like,
I
I remember growing up...
Drinking's one of them.
Oh, is that right? Because growing up, they're like, oh, Newfies are just weird people. And that stigma stuck in my head.
Well, now, weird. When we say weird nowadays, that's a big...
Oh, it is.
That's a broad term, right? There's good weird.
No, there's good
bad
weird. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I remember, like, in my early 20s, they're like, oh, yeah, have you been to Newfoundland? I'm like, no. They're like, they're weird people up there. But again, like what you said, weird, I just assumed like there was something wrong with them. But you clearing it.
Weird means unique.
Unique, yeah. Like they were happily just cheerful people. And then it was years later when I went, I'm like, I remember walking around, people calling me, hey, how's it going? Very social people. You know, it was great.
Look at September 11th, though. They took all the people that had taken in there. So,
and
a lot of caregivers. If you go to the East, a lot of nursing homes and a lot of caregivers for elderly or Newfoundland. Filipinos are big on it, but so is Newfoundlanders.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's just in their nature. They're nurturers.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. So let's get into chiropractic and the whole system. So we've just learned here right now that the founder was actually a Canadian, right here from Perry, Ontario. His statue is in some park. And you made that decision, okay, hey, let's, this friend of mine saying, forget about business, let's go with science. And you made that decision. And you sort of highlighted the fact that, chiropractic started with, like, if I can adjust something on a person's back, and if this person can now hear, what else can I do with the body? So the schooling that you went through, and I don't know if it's changed over the years, has the concept, ideologies, has anything changed?
Oh, for sure. You know what's went on is pure unadulterated chiropractic was, we're looking in your body in your spine for where we feel nerve interferences. And a chiropractor's primary job is to remove the nerve interference, which is via the misalignment or subluxation that can affect the spinal cord or the nerve roots. Realign that to the best of your ability and try to restore that nerve to the flow increases. So again, brain fires messages down the spinal cord out to all the targets, and to be the best Banu you can be, you need to live with, the most minimal nerve compression in your body, or none, right? That's the idea. That would be a utopia, right? But now they've morphed it because, old pure unadulterated chiropractic, which I kind of really still do, which is shoot an x-ray, look for the alignments. Not that you don't care what the patient says, but I'm going to look on there to find out where I feel there's nerve interference, and those are the areas that I work with and adjust to give you better life expression. But chiropractic now basically hoarded itself out to the insurance industries years ago for treatment of pain. So now the new generation of chiropractic is all about therapies. Oh, I'm going to treat your pain, back pain with ultrasound, muscle stim, cold laser. The insurance pays for that. But if I sent a bill to Banu's insurance company saying, well, I just helped increase his life expression, what's that? We're not paying for that. What the hell is that? So we're in a war of pure, unadulterated, what it should be and what it used to be, which is it shines its greatest, to now we just treat pain. And, it's deviated off the path that way. And, there are still some people that are holding true to the old tenets. God bless them. But, it's a therapeutic world, and it's all about reimbursement from insurance, and it's the money, right? The way I practice, it's taken a big bite on me in 25 years. Pounding away the old-fashioned way is like a body mechanic is a lot tougher than if I just put you on a table, put some pads on, turn the machine on, I'll come back a half hour later. Okay, see you later. Yeah. Or run a wand over you with ultrasound or diathermy or... that's all. Do that? Oh yeah, for sure. We can do all the physiotherapeutics that a physio can do. Right. But it's not chiropractic. And a lot of chiropractors don't define that definition and the borders of that with their patients. It's blurred. They come in and get everything in the kitchen sink thrown at them, and acupuncture's chiropractic, doc. No, it's not.
It's completely different.
Sure it is. And physiotherapy's physiotherapy, right. Chiropractor's chiropractic. But a lot of chiropractors aren't probably clear with that definition to the patient. What I'm doing here is chiropractic, that's physiotherapy. Makes sense?
It does.
So we gravitated to a treatment world, treatment of pain.
Right? You know what? You make such an interesting point, because if you didn't bring that up, I remember I had chiropractic adjustments in the past. Mm-hmm. Media does a wonderful job of gaslighting information.
Absolutely.
So with what you just said, if I go to chiropractic, they're going to help me with my pain.
Yeah.
Well, it's an automatic thing.
Sure. Now, what if you came in and you had a permanent degenerative disc in your lower back? Yeah. The disc is gone. I know scientifically, we could argue that in court or whatever, that I know there is nerve compression going on down there. It goes without saying. There's the objective evidence. I shot that film, or an MRI shows it too. But now you could have pain with that once in a while it behaves. So do I only tell you to come in when there's pain? Or do I say, well, the best way to try to minimize those periods of pain or those bouts is by staying consistent with an adjustment in there. Keep that joint adjusted and moving and pliable and adaptable, and I bet you're not going to have as many pain periods. See the difference there? Or you just say, come in when it bothers you.
Right. It's sort of like, when you get your oil change.
Yeah.
It has to be done. So, everyone makes that happen.
Do you wait till the red light comes on?
There you go. So why not do it when it's time to do it? So it's sort of like an annual, okay, let's get the body where it needs to be. Let's just do it. It's like maybe... exactly.
Wellness is staying well.
That's right.
Not being symptomatic, come in. I got patients that come in once or twice a year, and they only come in when they're a train wreck. Yeah. And then I got other people coming in every 2 weeks regularly or once a week, and it's like they never complain of problems. Yeah. So what's your philosophy? What's your paradigm?
Now here's a question.
Right? You can't force
you can't.
someone to believe your paradigm or believe your philosophy.
That's right.
You can throw it to them.
Yeah.
But the old chiros, you had a philosophy called the SW principle. Some will, some won't, so what? You can only try to get someone to get the big idea for so long, and then you just got to move on.
So here's a question for you. I don't know if you've been asked this. I'm sure you have. I used to see chiropractic, the old traditional where they pop, right?
Yeah.
So you've taken the idea that, it went from a wellness approach to a pain management. Mm-hmm. And through that, what came in my mind is that, okay, if I'm going to do chiropractic, that means am I relieving my pain? Because if I'm seeing you every 2 weeks, those symptoms are at bay because you keep removing them. what causes those subluxations, right? Like, why do like some, chiropractors continually see, for example, yourself, you may have some clients like over and over, like, shouldn't it sort of fix the problem?
Well, no, because there's too many factors at play. Emotions, mechanical, thought, they call it the 3 T's, thoughts, trauma, toxin. But remember, if you're subluxated, that is dynamic. I mean, the trick with it is you have to work uniquely with each person to figure out how long after an adjustment does that person hold that adjustment. I do get people that come in once a month. They're great. They're wealthy. They got good relationships, love their husband, wife, good kids, good job. Their stress is very low. I don't see them very often. They can hold an adjustment a long time. Then you get other people, their life's a train wreck. They're not going to hold that adjustment very long. They go home to a combative relationship. I got laid off, this and that. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that dictate what I would recommend for an individual schedule of care. How long you can hold that adjustment. I'm different from you.
That's right.
Right? There's the physical part that I see on that x-ray, but that's only one fraction of health. Go to the Dorland's dictionary. What's the definition of health? Optimal spiritual, physical, and mental well-being.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's a tripod right here. Yeah. Spiritual, physical, mental.
So which book
So
is
the
this?
physical, any medical, just go to any dictionary and look up definition of health. Optimum spiritual, physical, spiritual, and mental well-being. So I'm looking at the physical part because you're in here meat and potatoes. That's right. And I look at your x-ray, but I can't dictate the spiritual and the mental component. You need to have good religious faith.
That's
you
right.
need to have good relationships. You got to have a good job. All those two, if those are in disarray, this physical cannot exist.
It's going to take
it's going to take the biggest bite out of you.
And that's
I had a beautiful lady in here, Polish lady. I remember when she called me crying, I think I'm going to die, this and that. She comes in, and the first thing, I've been married 30 years. He's a son of a bitch. I hate that bastard. I live in the basement. He lives upstairs. Going on. And she had so many health ailments. It was unbelievable. Teeth fell out, hair, hyperhidrosis, all this. I said to her, you don't have no love in your life. I could adjust you every single day till the cows come home. And we're not going to make an impact on your health. I'm not Dr. Phil or Oprah, but you need a frickin' divorce. You can't stand how can you go into that house every day and you think you're going to be healthy? So remember, optimal spiritual, physical, and mental well-being. That is the key. If you don't juggle those 3, you're not in harmony.
You know what? It's what you just said is so important.
Well, network. There you go. Why do you think network has validity? Right. Neuro-emotional type, spiritual, mental component.
Yes.
Now it's a different way to practice. Yeah. I don't do it. It's not my thing, but I know it's valid, and I know it's appropriate.
Right.
And there are some people that's their thing. Great, and they can get results with people.
You say
it's
something.
Just a different angle.
It is a different angle, and you say something so interesting because when I was just going and seeing a chiropractor, years ago, they never really sat down and sort of. Maybe they had like a paperwork, like how are you feeling, whatnot.
Yeah.
But they've never really explained that. Okay, this is a holistic approach.
Sure.
There's the mental, there's the physical, and then there's the spiritual.
Yeah.
And you sort of just very clearly sort of outline that, like the triangle, which I think is important because if patients who come and see you, if they don't see that, you can see them every third hour of the day, and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. What if I adjusted you, and then you went home and you were on the verge of divorce, and you're fighting with your spouse, and that you don't think that you're going to come back that later that day or the next day, and you're going to be stiffer than hell. Your neck's going to be tight. Your blood pressure's elevated. All that. Well, no one laid a finger on you. She didn't touch you. You didn't touch her. All you guys did was discuss or argue about how you're going to end your relationship. You don't think of divorce 7 out of 10 people. If people come in here that are divorced, that have health, this goes so far beyond You know, and it takes a lot of years as a chiro to develop. I've been doing this 25 years, a long time. It takes a long time that you really realize the major impact of all that stuff. In the beginning, when you're young and you're green and you're getting into it, I can help everyone, but it takes a while to mature to realize how messed up people are and how messed up society is with so many different issues, right?
Oh,
it's a complex animal. It's not that simple. Like, it's just, you got back pain, boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, you're out the door.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a very spiritual, it's a very energetic transfer of energy.
It is.
There's a lot going on in people's health, for sure.
No, it's, there's...
Now imagine after COVID, forcing masks on people, forcing vaccines, doing things against your internal will. You don't think we got a messed up public? Oh, it's bad, for sure. Making people do things against their moral compass. And there you go. How many people now are completely, say had a degenerated subluxated segment in their spine, which is impinging on those nerves, and now throw all that turmoil on top of it.
Oh, it's true. And, with everyone, I think it was just last year where they sort of opened and said, okay, there's no need to wear masks and whatnot. There are still people who are afraid to go outside. There's a lot of fear that's happening, and it's still there.
Oh,
and I'm just thinking about like what you said, the spiritual health and emotional. They're sort of stuck in this, we have to go out and interact. Yeah. This is how we build immunity, by connecting with each other, right?
Absolutely.
You sort of said a lot of stuff there, Dr. Case. I just want to, when I had connected with you, I sort of said, hey, do you do Gonstead?
Yeah.
And the only way I heard about this is because on YouTube, there's so much that's out there in the
oh my God,
world.
the good, the bad,
the ugly. So there's a doctor out of LA.
Is he using a big sledgehammer and
No. So when I heard about this Gonstead, what made it really interesting is, he used this little gadget thing on the back, and it shows all that. And then he was explaining that Gonstead is a completely different approach, and I'm like, this is really interesting. So for 2.5 years, I've been looking for a Gonstead person, somebody who sort of is trained in that area. And then I thought I knew someone who did, but he didn't have all the qualifications.
Yeah, to find a purist, I call it, is very difficult.
Do you know if there are purists here?
I knew the one guy that my buddy, the Filipino fellow that I met in Newfoundland, who came here and unfortunately was murdered a few years back.
Oh,
he was one of the few purists that I learned, and I mean, he did everything to the T. There is a protocol.
Can we go over the protocol? What is the protocol?
It's pretty much, you got to take full spine films,
right?
Like I do. They gown every patient.
Yeah.
You can't have any clothes on. You got to have an access to the skin, your back.
Yes.
They run that nervoscope or the nerve meter, and they use 2 different types of tables.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And a flat table to adjust, and then they have a knee chest. I've got that stuff, but for me, I never was a purist. I found other ways I can do similar things, but very rare. I don't think you'll find one. They're very uncommon.
Got it.
I do everything by the book.
Okay. All right. And do you know enough to share some background information on Gonstead, his philosophy?
No, not really. In a sense, his philosophy was still, like a Palmer philosophy, because he was a Palmer grad, went to Palmer, where, like I just expressed to you, a maximum expression of your nervous system via removing the subluxations, and that's just with his arthritis and his problems, he developed that technique to do that. So it's his premise and his philosophy was the same as a lot of chiropractors. It's just how he chose to do it.
Okay.
Right? The same as if you did diversified. I mean, the goals are the same.
Right.
To remove the nerve interference. It's just how you choose to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So he didn't have really a different philosophy though. It was just a different technique, a different way of doing it. You and I are going to go. Our objective is to get to the CN Tower.
Right.
I head south on Mississauga Road. You head up north out of Streetsville to 401.
Right.
What do you mean? Well, our objective is we're both going to get there at the same time. I'll meet you down there. So it's just you choose that route, I choose this route.
Yeah.
So remember that's the big thing is the pure unadulterated philosophy of removing the subluxation. Once you add everything after that, then it becomes mixing.
Can you talk about, for those who are listening, subluxation?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's just a fancy term for basically the vertebrae misaligning, impinging on nerve tissue, hindering the mental impulse, hindering your body's ability to communicate that impulse from your brain out to the target. Now you can have fixations in your spine, which are vertebrae that are maybe misaligning, but they're not affecting nerve tissue. That's the difference. Those fixations will probably work their way out without having to manually go in there and manipulate or adjust it, right?
So that said, right now we're sitting in Doctor's, one of his offices back room here, and there's lots of jerseys.
Is a GMC SUV white is yours?
No.
Is yours?
No.
I wanna go.
We're recording. We're live recording right now. Alright,
okay.
So right now, just to let the listeners know, we're in sort of like in the back room. Somebody just walked in and wanted to know.
People walk in this office all the time.
So
sometimes people you don't want to walk in, and sometimes people you do.
But we don't edit anything. Yeah. It is what it is, because in real life we don't edit each other. So I'm sitting here in the back room. There's so many jerseys of different teams here. We got you had some up here as well too, Doctor. Okay, did you? With Sword?
Oh, they're always coming and going.
Oh, they're coming and going. So talking about the reason why I'm pointing to the different jerseys here. I know you're passionate about hockey, and. Is there a lot more athletes or people who are in the athletic world who use chiropractic more?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
because there's a lot more damage.
Yeah, but like we talked about, is there's a lot more injuries, so there's pain. Yeah. So anytime there's pain, there's a chiropractor around, for sure. But I think the newer aged angle is trying to, use chiropractic involved with sports or hockey for prevention of injuries, right? You think about it, if I work on you consistently over time and I keep your spine aligned the best it can be, you keep, your mental impulses, your nerves sharp and firing the best they can do, keeping you elastic and stretched out and pliable, your probability for injury is going to be a lot less. Oh. Or do you let life stiffen you up, and then you get out there and try to do something, and this just tore. So, yeah, chiro plays a big role in any athlete, running. Anyone that wants to be the best. Madonna had a chiropractor travel with her all the time. My good buddy James Hadfield from Metallica. Anyone that wants to gets the premise of I want the best out of myself that I can and try to minimize the medical intervention. Medicine is a great place and we need it when you have a big crisis and that, but you got to work as hard as you can to not need it.
And it's going to
and that's putting in your own time. Chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, nutrition. You got to say that, spiritual. You got to do all that stuff to minimize in your life that time that you're going to need radical medical intervention. But when you need it, it's there, and they do awesome things. But you're the captain of your ship, man.
And we talked about that so much. I've been here a couple of times here to get adjustments, and I just had an adjustment before this podcast. And as I was waiting for you, Dr. K, I was looking at your bulletin board there, and I love the fact that you have organic shared information. In one of them it talks about the flu season.
Okay.
And I think if I remember correctly, it said that in order to avoid the flu, get sunlight, drink water, rest, and sleep, and try to reduce your stress. Yeah. How many of us actually do that during this time? No, we're completely stressed out.
Sure, it's because flu is not a season. Yeah. Flu is an inability to adapt.
Right, and I think that's what it said out there as well, too.
Well, same with COVID. Yeah. How come, my question to the medical realm and all these pigeons out there, that how come they never once talked about if it was a primary respiratory virus, you never heard Tam say, well, maybe you shouldn't smoke, you should get vitamin D, you should act. They never talked about anything but the needle. Nothing to support you getting healthier, so when you get COVID, it's just going to shrug it off like anything, a virus, a night or two in the sack, you shiver a little bit, you got a fever, you're a little, and then away you go. They never talked about any of that, never once. Did you hear that?
No. And
it was the needle was the only solution.
It was. I mean, how many times did they sort of, some water just spilled, folks?
Yeah, but think about it. I didn't hear him say anything.
No, absolutely not.
Never once.
No, not even once. Like, how many times, go out, get some vitamin D, exercise. No, it was the complete opposite. It was more of like, okay.
Don't be afraid.
No, they want us to be afraid. Stay away from each other.
Yeah.
Don't get too close. Wear your mask.
Create strife. Create division.
Yeah.
I hate you because you don't believe what I believe.
Yes. That's
really?
Right.
Really? No, I just have confidence in my life that what I'm doing and how I live and the choices I made, that this thing ain't going to do nothing to me. I have faith in that.
Yes.
Now, if you've done nothing in your life and now you're trembling, well, maybe we're on a different plane here.
Yes.
And have confidence. Your body knows what it needs to do. You just have to, do the right things. You gotta, chiropractic's an awesome tool, but there's so much more that you have to round out. Your toolbox needs to be well-rounded.
It's absolutely true. Now, talking about the last 2-3 years with the pandemic, did it affect your business at all?
I think it did in some ways. Sure. I probably didn't get as many new patients during that time, but my good old faithful were hung around. They kept me here. They know the game. Most of them were, I had a few that I had problems with, but overwhelming amount were on board with they seen what was going on out there. I didn't have to teach them. They knew.
Like attracts like, and,
When you walked in, within a couple minutes, I'm like, he's on board. I don't have to, I can bet if we talked about 10 different tumultuous topics, 9 and 10, we're probably on the same page with 9 out of 10. It doesn't take long to really, to me anyway, as a people person, if you're a teacher, you can feel stuff out pretty quick. Yep, I'm on board.
Yeah. Oh, it's
or
true.
This isn't gonna go good.
You can sense it. You can feel it.
For sure, man. Are you kidding?
Definitely.
It's like, if you walk in with a mask on, I know we're already gonna start off on the wrong foot. Yeah. Or you're telling me you got your 8th booster.
Oh, yeah. No, it's absolutely true.
To each their own, but it's a shame that people don't have faith and confidence and strength in their self that this can handle it. 80% of the fatalities were nursing homes. Come on. Anyone without a brain could see that. Yeah. Our care of the elderly is terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. And so why would you not be surprised that a ton of people that pass away from it are going to be nursing home people? Malnourished, ill, weak. It's not a shock.
No.
None of this is, bird flu, SARS. We've been through this all again. Here we go again. Right?
It's so interesting. My buddy and I, we were just talking about this in high school. Mm-hmm. And, just recently, in high school, right? First, it was the fear, be careful of the acid rain because if you go outside, it's going to burn you. And as kids,
I remember that.
Being naive, you're like, oh my God, when it rained, it's like, oh my God. Then it was the greenhouse effect. Then it was Y2K.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The computers are going to shut down. The world's coming to an end. Yeah. And then it seems like the system is there to create fear.
Yeah, every so often they got to freak you out. Try to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they just, they don't want free thinkers. They don't want people that go against what these big players want, how they want life to be orchestrated.
Yeah.
I love freedom, individuality. That's what makes life great. But
if
you shouldn't chastise people for having a different choice.
No.
Like Dr. Phil would say to him, how many times on a show, well, how's it working for you? if your life, if it's not working, then you have to look at what you're doing. Yeah. But we need openness. You need to have individuality. You gotta take your own personal responsibility
along the way. Absolutely.
When stuff doesn't work out, I was willing to. My daughter was never vaccinated. She's 17. She never had a single needle. But I was willing to trust that I was going to love her, feed her, clothe her, give her everything, adjust her, give her everything that I felt she needed to be well armed against any viral or foreign invader that was going to take her out or take her down. I put trust in that body of hers and that she can do it. She's 17. She's had some colds, but for the most part, she's a smart, healthy, vibrant child with no issues.
And that's what everybody wants at the end of the day, right? Like,
but then you see these people that, autism and all that, they don't want to talk about it. But needles, go to the Amish, go to the Hutterites. You got these different types of, these groups of people that live differently, and they don't, prescribe to the vaccine philosophy. There's no autism there, but they could take every chiropractor that never vaccinated their kids and say, here's a control group, and we'll look at their health.
Yeah.
They would never, ever, they would never do it. Are you kidding? The outcome would be staggering. Look at you and I. You can probably remember when I went to high school, we had, a few mentally retarded, kids and that had some problem, but we never had autism. What's that? Where'd that come from?
And
I graduated in 1986.
And it's more prevalent in boys than it is in girls.
And it's just shot right through the stratosphere. The more needles we give, how come, if you're a common sense observer, if we're giving them more needles, then we should see less health issues with them. But the more needles they've started giving over the last 25 years, the more stuff we're seeing. You don't have to have science. That's called common sense and observation, right? So think about it. We used to do DPT, MMR, maybe 6, but now there's probably 60. I mean, go look at what they advise to give your kid. It's a whole different. You got to think for yourself, man. If you're not a self-thinker, if you don't look at these big companies, they're out for profit. They want to make profit. That's it.
No, there's a lot that's going on, and
they sit at a boardroom table up at Galaxo, up the road here, with how many people sitting around that table. What can we manufacture and what can we produce to give to the person? That's it. Everything. So it's a complicated world, and if you're not a free thinker, then you're going to get sucked in by their propaganda.
Yeah, no, there's sort of, just to summarize in a sentence or two, is that we have free choice.
For sure, absolutely.
And it's our responsibility to see everything for what it is. And you got to see all point of views, and then in the end, you have to make your own decision. That's absolutely true.
When I first started practicing, I thought chiropractic was for everyone. Everyone has to get adjusted. I was jacked up beyond the moon.
Yeah.
But then as time went on, I'm like, no, really, it's not for everybody. It's made for the chosen ones or the people that make their informed. It's not made for everybody. Well, it's too bad, but that's the way it is.
It is the way it is. Just in the last 10 or 12 minutes, I told you time will fly very quickly.
When you chat with someone, you're on the same page. Time does blow by.
You're absolutely right. And
if we were arm wrestling about stuff the whole time, we'd be like, "What? This is only 10 minutes."
No, I agree with you absolutely. So let me segue with talking about choice, and in the end, it is who we are, and we have to make the best of every situation. So Dr. K, every chapter that I have, this is chapter 3, I have a title, just like a book has a title. So I'm just going to put you on the spot here because it gets you sort of to think as well too. So the title of my chapter is called Inspirations. So what inspires you? Like, what is inspiring you to be who you are today?
Boy, that's
it's a deep question.
Yeah, inspiration comes to me that when you just know that there's the routine maintenance and that, but when you know that every so often you're going to get someone in, one adjustment's going to change the world. I had a corrections officer, little Filipino gal out in Brampton 20 years ago, and I remember she came in and she's like, I've had splitting migraines my whole life. And I x-rayed her with constant, analysis. Her occiput, her skull was so far off, sitting on her first vertebrae. And when I adjusted her, like a bomb went off. And I'll tell you, she came and never had another one again. Them people, it's so impactful to them. That what inspires me, or I shouldn't even say it's inspiration, what keeps me chugging.
Yeah.
Despite all the other things that can get thrown at you, is knowing that, there is that one every so often that you're just it's not just gonna make them, oh, I feel better, doc, and I'm doing better, which is the mundane.
Right.
But you're gonna get that one grand slam where it's like, wow, that just made, the guy that says, hey, I can get an erection again.
Yeah.
my brain is actually communicating with that down there because, that subluxation was cleared or improved, and when you can do that, that's cool. That's what keeps me going. Even though, you get them here and there, but you always have to be in your mind, this next person could be that person.
No, absolutely.
Right?
And I guess it's all about finding that right chiropractor who understands.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
For every chiropractor, there's an equal and opposite chiropractor. You did hit the nail on the head that, I might not be right for some people.
That's right.
But don't give up. Keep searching until that inner voice says, yes, this is the place I need to be. This is going to give me what I really was looking for. And you might get it first shot.
Oh, absolutely.
But it might take 10 chiropractors.
I've seen you at least 4 or 5 times, and we did the whole X-rays, and you saw, okay, Bono, this is off.
Yeah.
Within 2-3 treatments, I was sleeping better. Like, things just changed, and I was like, wow. Again, when you know someone who's doing their job, they love it, there's passion behind it, and they have the tools of the trade, it's going to work.
Well, the old chiros always said it, when love and skill come together and passion, expect a masterpiece. But like we talked about, you and I, you also have to figure out over time with me is how long do you hold that adjustment?
Right.
When do you feel that before the oil light comes on the dashboard, before the pain sets in, when do you feel you're feeling little things in you to say, you know what, I'm not where I need to be. I'm not at that optimum level. I'm in a dip. I need to get adjusted to stay up where I really need to be.
Yes.
Only you can monitor those little parts of you. Because you don't want to get into, I'll come in when the pain hits again.
That's right. Then
you're putting out fires. You're not practicing preventative wellness, preventative health care, right?
No, it's absolutely true.
Prevention means you want to get in there before the pain hits.
So then, here's a question. I didn't think I was going to ask you this. It just came in my head right now. Like, shouldn't they be teaching this kind of stuff, like maybe in school that,
the school's got so many twisted agendas. My mom, God bless her, Newfoundlander, she's 79, she still substitute teaches.
What? That's
she
amazing.
is a teacher through and through, but I could never do, like you said, it's the whole educational system has gotten pivoted and completely off the foundation. It should be taught.
Yes.
But it's not.
Yeah, prevention in anything like emotions and physical state and spiritual state. I think it's definitely really, really important.
Well, Bono, think of our the Canadian Chiropractic Association, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's every blue moon they might run a TV ad, and you'll probably laugh at this one because the last one I remember they ran, they don't spend peanuts to educate the public. But they had a bunch of swimmers, like Olympic swimmers, and they were all like on the blocks.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, okay, swimmers, on your mark, get set. And then they all get down in the position to touch your toes. And then one guy falls in. And then they're like, if you have back pain, see a chiropractor. So what does that message, again, it's supposed to be our primary representation as a profession. And what are the message you're telling people? Well, again, wait till you have back pain. Go to a chiropractor. How about saying, if you don't want this to ever happen, you should be at a chiropractor so this kind of stuff never happens. Or see somebody, crippled up with a walker. If you don't want that, they gotta switch the message.
I completely understand.
Right?
That makes absolutely sense. In the last 5 minutes that we have here,
how many times have people came in our office, we looked at their x-ray going, holy shit, you gotta take you out in the pasture, shoot you. I mean, how come you let this get so bad that, we're not miracle. I mean, you can't resurrect this. The damage is beyond the point of fixing. Happens all the time, Bottom.
Wow.
Yeah.
You probably have more stories.
Yeah.
We can go to sit here
my
for another
God.
3 hours and talk. So the last couple of minutes that we have here, I want to change the focus to Mississauga.
Okay.
You have 2 offices, one here in Mississauga,
Yeah.
and then the other one is
In
where?
Strathroy, other side of London.
All right, so we're going to talk about Mississauga. You've been here for the last 25 years. What do you like about Mississauga?
Like you said, that's a multi-angle question. I had my fill.
Yeah.
I mean, probably this year I'll be selling this to a new grad and moving on to just my Strathroy office. I loved it when I first came. Exciting, a lot of energy. It's developed like crazy. It's just to me, it's still of all the big cities, the nicest, the cleanest. There's no doubt a lot of positive for Mississauga. I have to admit, I was a blessing that I ended up here. But now I've did my time and gridlock and it's just I'm a hunting fishing guy and I did my time and I think it's time for me to get out more remote.
Okay.
But when you're young, you can handle traffic jam and all this, and it's busy, it's big. It's got everything you need. There's a lot of awesome people I met. I love it. I mean, I carved a chunk of my 55 years out here, 25 years.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and I've seen it grow, and I've seen the successes of it. And but with the good, there's always the bad. I mean, to me, traffic, commuting, things like that are the big thing. I don't like waiting in line. Go to the Service Ontario and the line's all the way around a bit. No, go to Strathroy, walk right up to the counter.
That's right.
So we all lose patience as we get older on things. We want it now. We want to get in, and I don't do lineups and that. Mississauga to me now is a lineup for everything. It served my purpose when I needed it, and it carved out who I am. I love it. My daughter was born in our house here, so it's going to hold a fondness to me forever. But I did my time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's time to move on and let the younger generation kind of go through that. When they get to my point, then they'll probably want to do the same thing.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
But I do love it. Mississauga's awesome. There's no doubt.
Last 2 minutes that we have here. I'm a foodie.
Okay.
So when I started my podcast adventure, it was a great opportunity for me to connect with different businesses, restaurants. Do you have a go-to place here in Mississauga? Anything?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Family owned, and now not just because it's in my plaza, but Saucy's right next door.
Okay.
It's right on the other side of my plaza here. They opened up about 6 months before I did.
Okay.
Late 90s, early 2000s, late 90s. Great. Awesome place. High caliber food, decent price.
Nice.
I'd never had a bad meal there ever.
All right,
No,
so-
and it's the people that own it are great. The Drohan family.
Okay. I
Rob-
may have to have them on my podcast.
Oh my God, Robin and his wife Brooke. They're great people, and that's my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I've never been there. I will definitely check them out.
If you get a bad meal, I'll pay for it. How's that? That's my challenge.
Right. No, that's amazing. Dr. K, thank you for allowing us to sort of, learn about the art of chiropractic services, your background, and like I keep saying out there in the virtual world, there's so much here in our own backyard that we do definitely need to get out and explore, connect, learn, and do whatever you need to do. So as we sort of end off, is there anything else that you would like to share?
No, I mean, it's just, like I said, I did my time. I love Mississauga. And it's a great melting pot.
Yeah.
I mean, you meet everybody, every kind. I mean, there is a very uniqueness to it.
That's right.
And I hope it always holds that, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, Dr. K, thank you so much for being here.
And it's a pleasure meeting great people like you.
I appreciate
that. I met
that.
some awesome people here. That's the only reason I stayed here and didn't pack up shop years ago and just went with my Strathroys. I've had some awesome, diverse patient base that I love. That's what kept me here, right?
No, I appreciate that. Well, thank you for being here on Mississauga, keeping it alive. Until next time, Dr. K, we'll chat soon.
Right on, thanks.